Hey all, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns. So we took a few breaks on directly talking about Carney. Somehow he comes up in every conversation, it seems. But I talked about Daniel Smith and I talked about liberals misbehaving and that. But it's time to go back into the real Mark Carney. The real Mark Carney. Not the fabricated, sanitized version that the CBC and the CTV and the Globe and Mail and Toronto Red Star and I'm probably forgetting somebody, but all the mainstream media that get funded by the liberals want to tell you Mark Carney is. We're talking the real Mark Carney. And I've gone over most of this before, but let's get somebody else's words in here.
Are you thinking of voting Liberal because you've heard impressive things about Mark Carney's resume?
You were the vice chairman at Brookfield Asset Management prior to
the chair. I was the chair.
Sorry.
Well, first of all, the people that he's actually worked with don't have very nice things to say about him. But if you look at what he's actually said, the policies he's committed himself to, you'll see that Mark Carney would be bad for Canada and bad for you personally. And it's going to take me 90 seconds to prove it to you. Let's start with the Liberal lost decade. Canada's economy is weak and vulnerable to the US because of Liberal decisions that chased away billions of dollars in investments. Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau cancelled major pipeline projects like Northern Gateway and Energy East. We have no way to get Western Canadian energy into Eastern Canadian markets without going through the United States. And Mark Carney supports this.
Maybe up as much as half of oil reserves, proven reserves, need to stay in the ground if we're going to get to where we are.
This is bad news for jobs, bad news for your mutual fund. But it's great news for Donald Trump. He gets the jobs and investments, and Canada gets weaker.
Frankly, probably would do better with the Liberal than the Conservative, if you want to know the truth.
Mark Carney says he's going to keep the industrial carbon tax. That means that steel workers in Canada have to compete against American steel companies that don't have to pay the carbon tax.
Does that not ultimately trickle down? No, because what the big companies are producing, by and large, a steel company, how much steel are you using these days, Todd?
On crime, he also supports the easy bail policies that cause the crime wave that's plaguing Canadian cities. And on housing, Carney is doubling down on the same policies that spent billions but didn't actually build new homes. Now remember, those are his words. That's what he's actually saying about what he's going to do. Look how quickly we could dispel all the myths about Mark Carney. That took less than 2 minutes. Don't be impressed by a padded resume. Look at what he's promising to do to our country. We cannot afford another 4-year Liberal term. We need a government that can get big things built again in this country, attract billions of dollars of foreign investment so we can stand up to Donald Trump from a position of strength. On April 28th, vote Conservative. Vote to put Canada first for a change.
Now, I know the brainwashed, indoctrinated left wing of Canada is just going to go, oh, well, that's Andrew Scheer. He's bad. But he didn't speak a single lie in that video. Not a single lie. Everything he says has been triple proven, quadruple proven. Sadly, the CBC and the CTV and all the mainstream media that the Liberals fund with taxpayer dollars don't want to tell you about this stuff. But if you had any sort of integrity and desire for Canada to actually improve, you should be looking this stuff up on your own. Like it's just a Google search away. Google search. That's all it takes. That's all. It takes 2 minutes of your time and you are vastly more educated than 20 hours of the mainstream media will ever let you be. But I know the left-wingers out there won't do that because they live in this echo chamber where they just want to hear what they already think and they don't care about the facts. And honestly, that drives me absolutely insane because I only care about the facts. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. I'm not an NDPer. God forbid anyone being an NDPer. I'm not a green. Well, nobody's a green. Look at her polling numbers. I'm a moderate voter and I vote on the facts. And for some reason, that word has become a really dirty word in Canada, according to the left. You're not supposed to talk about the facts. You're just supposed to go, Orange man, bad. Well, the truth of the matter is Carney and Trudeau have done far more damage to Canada with their carbon tax and their emission caps, production caps, anti-pipeline laws, anti-tanker law. Like, they have done more damage to us than Trump Trump's tariffs could do in the next 4 years. That's just the truth of the matter. It amazes me. Yesterday, a guy got arrested here in Edmonton because he's a senior citizen and he can't afford to eat. So he was shoplifting in Dollarama of all places. And he got arrested because this is the society that Trudeau and Carney have made. Don't quit deluding yourself. Trudeau and Carney have been the biggest detriment to Canada in my lifetime. And that includes Pierre Elliott Trudeau, who was a bloody nightmare. And Trudeau and Carney have been worse. And yet, oh no, CBC told me he's good. I mean, I hear this from my mother all the time, but she has an excuse. She's 87 years old with dementia. So I wouldn't expect her to understand it. If you're not 87 years old with dementia, you should be looking this shit up yourself and learning about this. It drives me absolutely insane. So once again, I'm going to go over the hit list. 1, Carney sold coal to China. China has the biggest carbon footprint in the world, and Carney sold American coal to China to increase their carbon footprint. He's not an environmentalist. No real environmentalist in the world would sell coal to China. That's like saying you're running an AA meeting and you're handing out booze to alcoholics. Come on, little common sense, people. Carney cut down 22,000 acres of the Brazilian rainforest. That's not an environmentalist. That act alone did more harm to the world carbon levels than Canada removing all of its carbon capture and all of its carbon policies. We still couldn't match what Carney did in that, cutting down 22,000 acres of the Brazilian rainforest. We could not match the damage he did in 10 years. That's just fact. He's not an environmentalist. When he cut down the 22,000 acres, he displaced a primitive society. We know from history, when you take a primitive society and you put them into the modern society of that era, they don't fare well because they don't have the education and the tools to adjust to society. They turn to drugs, they turn to crime, they die, or back in the old Roman era, they became slaves. I've looked on the internet. I can't find word about this primitive society that Carney and Brookfield displaced when they cut down their home in the Brazilian rainforest. No mention of it anywhere. So I have to assume they died, or they are drug addicts, or they're criminals. History repeats itself. Carney doesn't care. Doesn't give a shit about him because he made a few bucks off it. The American coal he mined to sell to China, his coal miners got ill with black lung. Carney cut them off of their medical insurance to save a few dollars. They fought him. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of America ruled in favor of the coal miners. You don't hear about this on the mainstream media, do you? No. That act alone is evil. There's no other word for it. That is evil. I said it in my other video, Carney and the Coal Mine, and I'm going to say it here. We have seen hundreds of movies out of Hollywood of evil, corrupt business oil executives and coal executives and everything doing this to their workers. In those movies, we cheer when the evil executives lose and in many cases die for their actions. Yet somehow the left in Canada, well, they're cheering the evil executive. What the bleep has gone on here? You guys are, I'm not religious, and I'm going to tell you, you guys are supporting Satan. Plain and simple. Hey, what else has he done? Oh, he blocked pipeline construction for the last 10 years in Canada. Well, he built pipelines in Saudi and the Middle East. When Poilievre called him on it, Carney looked at him and said, "You don't understand how global finances work. It's good that I'm building pipelines in Saudi and the Middle East, but no, it's bad for Canada, so we have to stop it in Canada." That's a direct quote from him, for fuck's sakes. And you guys support this. That's a hypocrite. Plain and simple. The reason he blocks pipelines, LNG, oil, gas, is because he makes profit outside of Canada on those investments. Brookfield and him just bought a $9 billion pipeline, major pipeline in the US. Why do you think he's blocking pipelines again? And don't come back at me with, oh, well, he says he's in favor of it. He put Stephen Gilbert in Quebec. Now, Carney just came out and he said, well, it's got to be a cooperation where the provinces and the Indigenous people have to agree. Well, the Indigenous people have agreed already. He put Stephen Gilbert in Quebec to ensure no pipeline ever goes through Quebec. Gilbert's been on record numerous times that he will never allow a pipeline to be built in Canada. And he says if the Liberals ever, and this is again a direct quote, if the Liberals ever allow a pipeline to be built in Canada, I will quit the Liberal Party. So Carney will tell you what you want to hear, but his actions tells us if he gets elected, there's no pipelines. There's no gas and oil making it to the Atlantic coast. Hell, Doug Ford, I can't figure out Doug Ford because the no pipeline law includes his Ring of Fire mineral extraction. So Ford's rallied for opening up the Ring of Fire in Ontario and getting the rare earth minerals out. That's not going to happen under Carney, but he's too frickin' dense, he's a closet liberal drinking the ideology Kool-Aid. That's what he is. Either he doesn't understand or he just doesn't care how much this is going to hurt Ontario. So, there's another one. The UK, Andrew Scheer mentioned it. The UK, since the day Carney's name was mentioned to be in the leadership race or running for prime minister, the UK has been running daily articles in all their media telling us to get the hell away from this guy. Don't give him power. He was a disaster in the UK. The last prime minister of the United Kingdom or of England came out and said, she did multiple interviews telling you this guy destroyed our economy. Peru hired Brookfield and Carney to build roads for their people. What did Carney do? Well, he took the money from Peru, he built the roads, and then he turned them into toll roads with tolls so high that the people can't afford it. Only Carney's billionaire friends, to steal a quote from Jagmeet Singh, it's one of the few issues Jagmeet's correct on, only his billionaire friends can afford to drive on those roads. Peru is taking him to court over this, and Peru will win eventually, but it's just the fact that he thought he could get away with this. Like, come on, this guy is a criminal. He is corrupt through the bone. He is evil. You guys really need to wake up already. I think the last count was there's 12 different corruption charges on 12 different files going at Carney and Brookfield in the States. You Google it. Again, Google it. Stop taking the mainstream media propaganda as fact and start Googling this stuff. It's all out there for you to see. So yeah, Scheer is 100% correct. And even this election, we're seeing really shady things. Barbara, the person running against him in Nepean, her signs have been getting stolen, destroyed, and the wood used to put her signs up has gone missing. Well, I'm going to show you the video at the end because what do you know? Carney's signs are going up and it's the wood from Barbara Ball's signs that got destroyed and stolen. Gee, is that very prime ministerial of him? I don't think so. And before you say, well, maybe that's his workers and not him, a good leader controls his workers. His workers represent him. So any crimes his workers do, they're on him. They're not on anyone else. They're on him. And it's beyond obvious that it's happening. Like, I'll show you the video and you can see for yourself. So yeah, this nonsense has to stop. You people need, and Don Cherry's right, you people need to wake up already. Enough of the bullshit, enough of the orange man bad crap. Donald Trump is an issue in this election, without a doubt, but he's not the main issue. He's not even in the top 10, to be honest. And it's about time you people started caring more about your fellow Canadians than about yourselves. Simple as that. Care about your grandchildren. Care about your children. Care about the low income, the elderly, the disabled, because the Liberals do absolutely nothing for them. Nothing. The NDP do more. You want to vote left, vote NDP, because the NDP actually do more. The pharmacare was the NDP. The dental, that was the NDP. Now, both programs are really not worth a crap at, and I don't really blame Jagmeet and the NDP for that. Trudeau and Carney watered them down, so they're not worth a crap. But those are still NDP bills. Don't give them credit to the Trudeau and Carney, because without the NDP, Trudeau and Carney would have never put them through, because Trudeau and Carney don't care about anyone but the billionaires. I don't know how much more evidence you people need. So anyway, here's the video of Barbara Ball's signs being vandalized and her property being stolen by the Liberals campaigning in Nepean. And then I'm just going to sign off because I'm actually starting to get worked up about this.
Hello, Nepean. It's Barbara Ball, your Conservative candidate. In a democracy, the right to free speech is sacred. It's common knowledge that the Barbara Ball team is very organized. Our signs were up very early in the campaign. Many of our wooden stakes are marked with blue tops and NCA for Nepean Conservative Association written on them. Now, we are discovering that hundreds of our signs are missing. We have found many of our signs in the garbage. We have also discovered empty holes and, in other instances, wooden stakes with blue tips and NCA written on them, bearing my opponent's red sign. When people resort to criminal behavior, they are undermining the democratic process itself. This is unacceptable. Our community deserves better. We must stand united against such actions, which tarnish the democratic ideals that we hold dear.
There you go. Die-hard evidence of corruption, criminal actions. Again, I know most lefties out there are not going to give this any value or credence, but if this was happening in the reverse, if the conservatives were doing this to the liberals, oh my God, their minds would be, it would be headline news. CBC wouldn't shut up about it for the rest of the election. But I know you'll never see this on those channels, and you'll probably minimize it at best, if not just outright ignore it. And shame on you for that. Really, shame on you. And it just occurred to me watching this video, I just made a video yesterday that went over the destruction of the conservative signs by the liberals, and I'll link it in the description. But another video I made also came to Barbara Ball, another strong female being attacked by Carney. Carney and Trudeau are terrified of strong women. So again, I do not comprehend how any self-respecting, intelligent woman in Canada can support Mark Carney. I don't get it. He is a misogynist, evil person. Now, watch videos of him and his wife together, and you'll notice she walks behind him. You know who does that? Muslims. That's the Muslim faith. Now, I'm not bad-mouthing Muslim faith. I had a couple friends growing up that were Muslim, but that's part of the religion that I do not agree with, where the woman has to walk a certain amount of space behind the man because they're inferior. And that's Mark Carney and his wife. Except for really planned photo ops, you'll always see her 5 feet behind him. Very subservient. This is Mark Carney. This is who you people, thanks Grapes, are supporting. I don't bring up the H word often, but what, would you have supported Hitler? Because that's really the comparison I'm starting to see with him. Again, he's evil. Hitler was evil. And Trudeau adopted a lot of Hitler policies and updated them to modern times. And that was with Mark Carney's approval, because again, Mark Carney's been his chief advisor for the last 5 years and was involved in the previous 5 years before that. So this idea that Mark Carney is some outsider, not a politician, is complete bullshit. It really is. His fingerprints are all over the destruction of the Canadian economy and the Canadian way of life. And they always have been. And this is who you people are supporting. And that baffles my mind. That really does baffle my mind. Anyway, that's my video for today. If you like the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders. And I do appreciate it. Never think I don't. If you dislike the video, leave a dislike. Always feel free to leave a comment. Don't worry, I don't swing my cane too strongly anymore if I dislike your comment. And as always, pew 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.